Okay, so this is chapter 2, section 3, multiplying radical expressions. And so there's a couple of things that you need to know here. What the big deal here is, there's two, really. There's two things that you have to remember. The first thing is when you multiply anything outside the radical, it stays outside. So any multiplied coefficients outside the radical get multiplied and stay outside. Okay, and then anything under the radical, the radicands, will get multiplied. So these are the inside. They'll get multiplied together. They'll stay inside. And then you have to make sure that you reduce them. Okay, so remember that the product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So here's a really basic example of something like that. So if we have 2 radical 6 times 5 radical 8, okay? These two things, the coefficients, will get multiplied. So 2 times 5 is 10. And the two radicands will get multiplied. And they become a root of 48. And then you need to make sure that you are reducing that radical. Okay, so we're going to go and take the root of 48. And I'm going to go 16 and 3 just because that's simpler. This is a 4 rad 3. Remember that you're going to multiply these two things together. So I'm going to have a 10 times 4 radical 3, and we end up with a 40 radical 3. Okay, this thing, your radicand, your new radicand, should be in reduced form. You shouldn't have anything under there that you can take and simplify. So if you have a root of 4 or a root of 8 or a root of 12, something that you have a perfect square inside of, you have a problem. That can always be reduced further. Okay, so this is the most basic example. Okay, let's do a couple others. So here's example 2. We're going to distribute. All right, so this example looks like 3 radical 5 times rad 5 minus 4 rad 8. Okay, so you're going to multiply, then simplify. Oops, I didn't get a pen. Multiply, then simplify. All right, so I'm going to multiply these together, and this would have an invisible 1 out front, right? So 3 times 1 is 3. Rad 5 times rad 5 is rad 25. If I was doing this, I would kind of go, and I'm going to just do this down here. 3 times 1 is 3, and rad 5 times rad 5 is just plain 5, and I'd get rid of the rad 25. If you want to do that and you know that that's what's going to happen, totally fine. But if you need to do this step and see that it's a root of 25, also totally fine. Okay, so the next one, I'm going to distribute this to this, and make sure you have a negative. 3 times 4 is 12. 5 times 8 is the root of 40. And now I'm going to reduce anything I can. Well, this is just a 5. So here's my 15. The root of 40 is back to the 5 times 8, right? And then 8, if you remember from before, it's 2 rad 2. Rad 8 equals 2 radical 2. But if you need to see it worked out, you have a rad 2 and a rad 4, and the rad 4 is just plain 2. These two are going to get multiplied together, and you'll have a rad 10 underneath. The 2 gets multiplied by the 12, so I have 24 radical 10. And that would be your answer to this thing. They are not like terms. This one, the 24 rad 10, is not a like term to the 15 because they don't have like radicands, so you can't combine them together in any way, shape, or form. So this would be your answer. Okay. Now you already know how to multiply things with variables. I don't think I have any examples. Maybe I'll throw some into my next one. All right, so next, we're going to FOIL these things out. All right, let's go. Rad 5 minus rad 6 times 2 rad 5 minus 4 rad 6. All right, so foiling, you're going to distribute this. So I'm going to go 2 rad 25, and then I'm going to multiply these two, so minus 4 rad 30. Then these two, this is going to be negative 2 rad 30. And then these two, so negative times a negative, that's going to be a plus, 4 rad 36. Okay, so now I have to look to reduce anything I can, combine like terms anywhere I can. This is going to be a 5, so this is going to be a 2 times 5, so this is a 10. These are like terms I can combine, so negative 4 minus 2 is a negative 6 radical 30. A root of 36 is just a 6, so this is 4 times 6, so this is plus 24. You'll want to take a look at the root of 30, see if you can reduce that anywhere, but you'll find that that's a root of 5 and a root of 6, and this is a rad 2, rad 3. These are all prime, and nothing will pair up anywhere, so rad 30 is not actually going to reduce for you. However, these are like terms, so 10 plus 24 is 34 minus 6 rad 30, and that's what that's going to look like, okay? Now, a note, if you were to have indices in here, so maybe these are all cubes, right? These would multiply exactly the same way, it's just that these would then all have cubes in them, and keep in mind the cube root of 25 is not 5, right? It's just cube root of 25. So, but the multiplication would happen exactly the same way, and I know that that's going to happen in varsity. They might just be better numbers, so you might have like cube roots of 2s that you could pull out and simplify. So just kind of a note that you can multiply as long as the indexes are the same. Okay, you cannot multiply a square root by a cube root or a square root by a fifth root. That's not going to happen. The indexes have to be the same in order for you to actually multiply those things together. Okay, so there's an example of foiling. And then the last one that I want to do, and it's going to set up essentially the same way, looks like this. So here's another example. So 3 rad 6 minus rad 2, and that is squared or even cubed. 3 rad 6 minus rad 2, and that might be cubed, right? So one or the other. So remember that if this is squared, that means that there are 2 of these. So you're going to rewrite this. Okay, so this is going to be 3 rad 6 minus rad 2 times 3 rad 6. Oops. 3 rad 6. Oh, it took away the whole thing. 3 rad 6 minus rad 2 times 3 rad 6 minus rad 2, and then FOIL, which I'm not going to do for you because we just went through an example like that. If there were 3, okay, if we had an example like this, then if there's 3, so it's cubed, okay, write out 2 and FOIL. All right, well, let's actually do this. All right, so 3 rad 6 times 3 rad 6 is 9 rad 36. And this is a 6. So 9 times 6 is 54. Then I get a 3 rad 12 minus 3 rad 12. This is another minus 3 rad 12. And then I have a negative rad 2 and a negative rad 2, so plus a rad 4, which is just plus a 2. And then these two together are a negative 6 rad 12, but a 12 is a 4 and a 3, and a 4 is a 2. So this is a 54, 56 minus, I'd multiply these together, right? So that would be minus 12 rad 3. Put that in parentheses, and then bring this third one down. So I'd go 3 rad 6 minus rad 2, and then I would FOIL again. Okay, that's how you would handle that if you had 3 of those. Okay, so the varsity might throw you a couple of different challenges where you've got some indices in there. I don't know about variables. They're probably in there too, but that just gives you more practice doing that. Okay, so if you need any help with those, just don't hesitate to come and see me. Get some help. I don't want you to struggle in silence. That is definitely never something I want you to do in my room. Okay, so let's see how it goes. Toodaloo for now.